sight, Richard Jefferson in his shiny shoes.
Yep.
Kendrick Perkins, thank you for being here. Let's get to the coaching carousel.
Yeah,
Come on, put that up out there.
Big round blueberry.
I look good, though.
Over the weekend, the Blazers hired Chauncey Billups as their head coach. He was one of the names previously endorsed by Damian Lillard, of course. Now, there was some backlash online for Lillard. Dame said he was not aware of previous allegations against Chauncey Billups, which, by the way, no charges were ever brought. Important to keep saying that. Yesterday, Yahoo Sports reported that the backlash to Lillard, along with his concerns of whether a title team can be built in Portland, are factors that could lead him to ask out eventually. Richard, that is a lot. How can the Blazers keep Dame happy?
Well, one, I want to talk about the backlash. Like, one, Dame gets asked a question. These are names that were out in the coaching search. Like, Dame,
Preach.
like, you are too good to allow. I saw one of his interactions and that he like quote tweeted the person is a Raptors fan. Don't let somebody that's not in your house dictate what goes on in your house, right? And so from that standpoint, you should really just focus in on what's going on within the Portland Trailblazer community. In my opinion, the next step about it is, what does he think about this hire, right? If you're worried about the backlash, that's one thing. If you're worried about can they build a championship contender, now we're talking about real tangible stuff. And I think they have the talent. I think they have the fan base. I think they have all the things necessary. They're just one or two pieces away, and I think that's what they need to focus on.
Well, RJ, I disagree with you on one point because everybody handles things differently,
Agreed.
right? So you may keep quiet. Dame is a guy that's outspoken, right? He has albums that he's dropped. We watched him go back and forth with Shaquille O'Neal on a rap battle. So Dame is not going to hold back. You come at Dame, he's going to come at you. Now, you're right. The organization asked him who he wanted, and he put two names out there, J. Kidd and Chauncey Billups. Here's the thing. I do think they can get better. I do think that they can make Dame happy for the simple fact that a new voice in the locker room changes everything. We just witnessed that with the Atlanta Hawks. They got rid of Coach Lloyd. All of a sudden, Coach Nate McMillan comes in.
Clippers.
The Clippers. The Hawks start playing completely different. Trae Young started playing completely different. Agenda-free basketball. You need someone like Chauncey that's going to be able to hold these guys accountable on the defensive side of things. Remember, the Portland Trailblazers couldn't guard a caged dog. They ranked close to dead last defensively. They did. They never struggled with scoring. They just couldn't guard anybody. So you bring Chauncey in there. What can you tell Chauncey if he holds somebody accountable? He could go toe-to-toe with Dame.
Yeah.
Right? He could go toe-to-toe with CJ. He could get the best out of Big Nurkic and say, don't ask for the ball on the block. Do your job. Rebound, block shots, roll to the basket.
Well, I agree. I completely agree. I just, when I was more referencing not Dame to not be outspoken, but it's just like, you don't let people worry. Do I ever give you advice of what's going on inside your home if you didn't ask me? No, exactly. So that's all I'm saying.
It's not our home, RJ.
It is, but that is his. But that is his home. When you're dealing with outrage on Twitter, which we all know about, is a very slippery slope. I don't want to hear it from a Raptors fan that like this. And so like, that was my thing about the outrage. Sometimes we got to take that with a grain of salt.
I do think that coaching can really change a roster, even quote the same roster. The Atlanta Hawks are a fantastic example. This is a team that wasn't even in playoff bracket contention months into the regular season, and then suddenly they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. And you can see, too, it kind of puts the lie to, if that guy was on someone's staff, because, again, the Clippers and Hawks are great examples that there can be a coaching shift even when someone's on that staff. Chauncey Billups, to me, is a Hall of Famer. I think he should be in the Hall.
Preach.
I watched that man up close win a Finals MVP. He is a leader. He is someone that I watch now on the Clippers. He has changed the game of several players. He has been teaching Paul George to play point guard. I think that there are so many things that Chauncey is going to bring to the table that Dame specifically and that whole team in general will really, really respond to. I'm excited to see what happens here.
It's gonna be fun.
I do think they're going to need some help from the front office, and I'm curious to see what the front office does for them, because the roster does need some upgrading, and we'll see if they can, work the magic there. We'll have to find out. Carousel continues to spin, though. It's not just Portland, because this time we're ending up in Orlando. The Athletic reporting former Magic guard and current Memphis Tigers head coach Penny Hardaway is, quote, a serious candidate for the job. Penny played 6 seasons in Orlando, was an all-star in 4 of them. Perk Is Penny a good potential fit in Orlando?
Yes, I believe he is. And just watching his whole coaching, like from where he started from in high school, right? Winning championships in Memphis, to going to the University of Memphis and help building that program back up. I think the way that the direction that the Orlando Magic is going in with that young core, you need a young guy, a young coach that played the game at a high level that these guys could relate to. That's all that matters now, especially a guy like Penny Hardaway. Bring back Lil Penny, whatever the case may be. But with that young nucleus, they need a voice like Penny Hardaway.
I couldn't agree more. You've seen a lot of names bounced around. You see a lot of names bounced around with them, whether it's Jamal Mosley, who's the assistant coach in Dallas, Penny Hardaway, who I really like. One of the reasons why I like Penny is because when we put that list up of all of the features of all of, like Indiana, Dallas, like all of the jobs, Orlando had 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not saying that they don't have 10. No, but I'm saying not that we're looking like, here we go.
They've got Bradley Beal. They've got Zion. They've got
2 top 10 picks. The point being is that you need a coach that's going to come in and be like, hey, we're going to build. We're going to develop. But great job on the graphic. Whoever pulled that up, because I didn't tell him I was going to say it.
Michael
so that was
Schwartz,
great. Michael,
by the way,
the Schwartz is with you. Like, that is outstanding.
And then director Kathy knew when to put it in there.
All time. But my point is that when you have a young franchise that is going through a rebuild, they got rid of Vucevic, so they're starting kind of from scratch with some young talent. Bring in a coach that can learn for 3-4 years, that can grow with this group. And I think Penny Hardaway is a great name because he will build excitement. Even if your team's not great, like, there's a nostalgia. Nostalgia is very strong for Penny Hardaway and Shaq and what they did.
In layman's terms, what RJ is saying, since he always want to go back to Arizona, is that he's going to give the organization swag to the younger generation. God, man,
I know.
You got to touch everybody.
I know that when the coaching search was happening in Arizona,
yeah, that was that's a fair. I did not discuss that. I'm happy with our hire.
There you go. Coming up, we're going to talk about Trae Young because he is indeed questionable for Game 4 with a bone.
The Blazers announcing the hire of Chauncey Billups. Now, according to sources of our Adrian Wojnarowski, the deal is for 5 years with the former LA Clippers assistant that includes a team option on the last season. Now, Billups had an illustrious career in the NBA, winning the 2004 NBA title with the Pistons in the Finals MVP award. A 5-time All-Star, he's the only player with a winning record against Michael Jordan, Kobe, and also LeBron. Now, along with Billups' hire, Jason Kidd was named the head coach of the Mavericks last Thursday. Now, both have amazing resumes. However, off-court issues have led to questions surrounding their hires. In 2001, Kidd was arrested for suspicion of hitting his wife and pleaded guilty to spousal abuse. Then in 2012, he also pleaded guilty to a DUI. Billups, on the other hand, settled a civil case in 1997 when a woman alleged that he and his former teammate Ron Mercer raped her. Criminal charges were never filed, but according to police reports, a rape kit examination displayed injuries consistent with sexual assault. The Blazers have looked into the matter again before hiring Billups, and they were able to not really draw up anything new. But Perk, you got to look at all of these factors. Are these hires a bad look for the league, would you say?
No, it's not. You know what's a bad look in the NBA to be writing these articles at this time. That's what's a bad look. Because guess what? When Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups, when they were the product and they were put on the shelves and they were selling out and they were making money and they were around here delivering championships and making all-star games and selling out jerseys and signing autographs, everything was all fine and dandy when you were the product. Now all of a sudden, when 2 African Americans have learned from their mistakes, and when I'm talking about Jason Kidd, he learned from his mistakes. He had 2 head coaching hires since then. He was an assistant coach with the Los Angeles Lakers, won the championship. Nothing was said. This man has changed his life. Rick Carlisle endorsed him. Dirk Nowitzki endorsed him. Not a word was said. And when you look at what Chauncey Billups has done, all right, finished his a hell of a career, assistant under Ty Lue, worked on our network at ESPN and was a hell of a commentator, did a hell of a job. Should have been a GM in my eyes instead of being a coach because he's that great of evaluating talent. That's how special he is to the game. But soon as African Americans can take that leap and get in place of power, this is when it all starts to come out. This is when these writers want to start bringing up people past, like everyone don't have a damn past. I'm pretty sure we all have something that we done when we were younger that we wouldn't do again. Now, I get it. If with Jason Kidd's situation, if he was a repeated offender, and it was something that he was doing time and time again, okay, I can see that. But this man has grown from that. Chauncey Billups wasn't accused of anything, no criminal charges. Let it go. Let these people get their jobs that they deserve and move on.
Yeah, I think that it's a different question of whether they should get the jobs or if it's a bad look. Like, I do think it's a bad look because particularly in Chauncey's cases, he was up against Becky Hammon, and it's a particularly bad look for the NBA, which is considered the most progressive major sports league that we have, at least major men's sports league that we have in this country. And for them to, and for two hires of women, of guys who have been accused of mistreating women or sexually assaulting or hitting women, for them to get hired and Becky Hammon not to get hired, I don't see how we can argue that it's not a good look. And that doesn't mean that these guys never deserve to work again or that they need to continue paying a price for something they've been accused of or pled guilty to in Jason Kidd's case years ago. Doesn't mean that they can never rebound from that, but we do have to acknowledge it. And it's a story that whether it comes out now or comes out later or came out earlier, it's a story that's not going to go away. Like, it's going to stick with these guys for their entire careers. And I think I had a group text about this situation with a couple friends of mine over the week, and one of the things that came out of that I think was important and we should highlight is that the country doesn't really, and in Chauncey's case specifically, like our country, the judicial system hasn't figured out how to properly deal with sexual assault. And for the NBA, for us to expect the NBA to figure out how to do it is asking a lot. And we can go back to the previous president was accused of many different sexual assault incidents, and that didn't disqualify him from getting that job. So I'm not saying that that's the bar that we have to reach necessarily, but I am saying that I understand when guys or when anybody commits a crime or is accused of a crime, like there should be a process that we go through, which includes finding out or determining whether they are guilty or innocent. And then it also includes some punishment. And then when you come back from that punishment, then you are allowed to re-enter society and you're allowed to work again. It doesn't mean that you should be the head coach of a team or general manager of a team. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be. But all those things need to take place. And I don't think that's a failing of the NBA. That's a failing of our judicial system more than anything else. But it does, I mean, to get back to the original question, it does look bad today to have that as one of the headlines.
Yeah, but Dominique, look, the situation that happened with Chauncey Billups happened when this man was 19 years old. That was almost 30 years ago. And then he wasn't found guilty. It wasn't like he had you could go Google his criminal record and it's on there. Nothing happened, okay, at the end of the day. But you know what's even more disrespectful when we talk about being disrespectful to Becky Hammon, the women of the world? You know what's more disrespectful is that people are putting this out about Chauncey Billups when he have a wife and 3 daughters. How about the disrespectful stuff in that when people are writing these articles about him that is false because he was never accused in the first damn place? That's disrespectful.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. I don't appreciate, I'm sure Chauncey doesn't appreciate it, but like the facts are the facts. Like the accusations were there. They brought up the accusations. And I don't think that is disrespectful. I didn't use the word disrespectful. Like, I don't think it's disrespectful to Becky Hammon or disrespectful to anybody. I just think it's a bad look. And whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter. It's about the optics of the situation. The question is, does it look good or does it look bad? It looks bad for a league that prides itself on being progressive to have a woman in the running for the job, whether she deserved it or not. I'm sure she deserves to be a head coach at some point. It looks bad to deny a woman a job and then hire 2 men who are being accused of violent acts against women. Like, it looks bad. It doesn't mean that. Go ahead, Perk.
But Foxworth, this is what I'm telling you, man. Listen, at the end of the day, J. Kidd had 2 jobs. He was with the Nets, he was with the Bucks, he got hired on with the Lakers. Nobody said a damn word. And at the end of the day, it's not about men or women when you're talking about hiring for coaching. It's who's better fit for the job, who the people want, who the coaches want, who the organization want. Damian Lillard said for the Portland Trail Blazers, when asked, he wanted either Jason Kidd or Chauncey Billups.
That's fine. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. And I like Chauncey Billups. I know him a little bit personally from Denver, and I liked him, but I don't know him well enough to know whether these are real or fake. But you brought up at the beginning of this how unfair it is, in part because they are black men. So I think you also understand that sometimes just because somebody wants to hire someone doesn't mean that they deserve the job. It's not an argument against Becky or against either of these guys or an argument for Becky Hammon, but just because somebody as a football player and someone who's been in the NFL, there's lots of black coaches who deserve to get hired. They didn't get the job because we fell back and we weren't critical of them. It's a whole nother conversation, but I'm with you on the point that you're making. Like, it's uncomfortable for all of us, and it is a bad look for the league.
Yeah, I actually have to agree with Dominique. I do think it's a bad look for the league. I think as far as the optics are concerned, I mean, I know that they did re-delve into that investigation and, tried to figure out what they could, didn't find anything else, and decided that at the end of the day it was more important to hire Chauncey as their head coach than anything else. So they went with that decision. But it also makes me wonder how serious they actually were about hiring Becky Hammon, because you talk about optics. Sometimes you have to wonder if teams really just say Becky's a finalist just for the fact that, this would make us look good to show that we're actually considering hiring a woman as our head coach. Were they actually really? I have no idea, but this makes me question that and really, truly wonder about it. So, guys, good discussion. We have to move on now, but we have a lot more to get.
First time in 28 years with a win tonight. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I am joined here by just a couple of NBA champs hanging out with us. Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins. Richard brought a little iPad laptop thing that goes.
Yeah, I got a lot of information here.
You got a lot of takes.
I got a lot of stuff going on here. Like Perk don't know nothing about that. Perk uses the power of his own two eyes, but I also use the internet. So just in case.
He finally showed up to work.
You're very proud of your T-shirt, by the way. Do you
I am. Oh, yeah. This is my Moon Valley Rockets. I'm a Phoenix kid. Perk didn't really have stuff like that growing up in Texas. But, I'm just here to represent Arizona. I'm so proud. It's been so many years since this state has seen something like this.
That's because you tried to win an NCAA tournament title and failed.
I did. I was so close. But you know what? This is about the Phoenix Suns. And really, the Phoenix Suns are going to win it all. I'm done. I've come over to the other side. And I was questionable, but the Phoenix Suns are going to win it all, so we can all just sit back and enjoy how it's going to happen and which way it's going to happen. So, that's where I stand with all that.
We'll get to your predictions at another part of the show.
That's fine. We can start the show with my predictions.
We will dig into everything going on with the Western Conference Finals in just a minute, but first, let's talk a little bit about the East. There is an old West African proverb that Teddy Roosevelt made famous in America more than a century ago. Talk softly and carry a big stick. The idea spawned a whole military ideology, the idea that you don't need to stand on desks or pound on tables in the hopes of convincing everyone else to do what you think is right. Just have the biggest, strongest army, and that will do the convincing for you. Chris Middleton is a man who does indeed talk softly. He does not have shoe commercials like Russ or a side career in movies or music like LeBron or Dame. He does not trash talk like Joel Embiid. But wow, last night when the Bucks absolutely, positively needed a big stick to avoid falling behind to the underdog Hawks in the Eastern Conference Finals, did Middleton come out swinging. 38 points on the night, 20 in just the fourth quarter, a closing kick in which he outscored the entire Atlanta team. Now, it's important to note the Hawks were hampered at that point. Trae Young, who, by the way, is a player who talks loud and carries a big stick, he has been having a fabulous series, a fabulous game, even throwing another shimmy in there at the end of the third quarter until a freak accident happened, stepped on a referee's foot, twisting his ankle and suffering what an MRI today revealed as a bone bruise. Young went back to the locker room for a little, came back on the court in the fourth, and even hit that really pretty bucket you just saw, but otherwise just clearly not himself. He'd say later he just didn't have the explosiveness that he usually uses so well to create separation, and you could tell that anytime he tried to plant his right foot, just wasn't good. All of which cleared the stage for Middleton, who once he started flamethrowing, just did not stop. Like the entire Bucks team, Middleton has been criticized in the past for not stepping up in big moments, but that perception is changing. And these kinds of nights are a big reason why. It's interesting. After the game, Giannis was asked about his early days in Milwaukee, when he and Middleton were literally clawing at each other in practices trying to get playing time. The Athletic's Eric Nem actually had a story with Giannis talking about how he often went home with actual scratches on his arm, courtesy of Chris. But the experience didn't make them rivals. It bonded them, and that bond is paying off now, as Giannis clearly has just no ego about Chris being the one with a game that is more suited to being the team's closer. Take a listen to him talking here.
Greatness. What I saw today was unreal. It was freaking unbelievable. Carried the team at the end. I trust this guy to death. And if he wants the ball, he gets it. Simple as that. He was knocking out shots. Does it really matter who's the first guy? It does not matter. We play basketball. We try to win games. I want to be a winner. And I have the whole game to be, the guy. I don't care about being the guy in the fourth quarter. Whoever wants to be the guy in the fourth quarter, and or Chris or Drew or PJ or Bobby or Brino, whoever the case might be, and help us win game. That's what I care about,
Giannis also revealed that a few days ago, he and Chris had a conversation about how long they wanted to play in the NBA, with Giannis telling Chris the day he retires, the day Chris retires, that will be the saddest day of his career. It's an interesting dynamic overall. Giannis is the one, certainly, who talks the loudest in Milwaukee. It's he who has the signature shoe, he who has the MVP trophies. But if Teddy Roosevelt were here, he would tell you, don't sleep on Chris Middleton. That big stick ideology isn't just for politics, but basketball too. All right, guys. So after dropping Game 1, the Bucks found themselves up 2-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals. You can take a look at the bracket here. That red-hot fourth quarter from Middleton. Perk, what is your reaction to that outburst last night?
Well, he's the go-to guy, right? And when it matters the most, give the ball to Chris Middleton. He's the most skilled guy on the Milwaukee Bucks team. That don't mean he's the most dominant. And I said this, right? Chris Middleton is the Batman. Giannis is the Robin. Some people take it as a sign of disrespect. It's not. Giannis basically said it himself. In the fourth quarter, hey, let's run plays for Chris Middleton. This is a guy that is a shot maker. You could count on him at the free throw line. He's a guy that all season long, he always flirts around that 90, 40, 50 ball club, and he gets buckets, period.
Well, okay. This is what I love about Perk.
I'm glad you love it.
Perk will say something that I said a year ago and then make it his own. I love that about him because it's so authentic. I should have said it louder because I took a little bit of heat when I said that Giannis might be a Pippen. I said this last year and everybody went nuts. They were like, what are you talking about? He's a two-time finals, or he's a two-time MVP. He's this and this. I'm like, yes, but he needs a closer. He needs somebody there. And a lot of the criticism on Chris Middleton was that he wasn't good enough to be the closer for an MVP. Right. Would Chris Middleton be good enough to be a closer for Shaq? Right, like Shaq had Kobe. Like if you have a guy that can get you so close to the mountaintop, you need somebody up there that has the closing ability to get to the top of the mountaintop.
It's important, too, to sort of differentiate. We're not talking about who's the most sort of has that, quote, clutch gene, who's sort of willing to stick their nose in there or pressure when it counts. We are talking about style of game and what a center is able to do versus what a wing player is able to do.
Yes, and that's perfect because that's where Giannis does a great job of conceding. Very similar to how other great big men will concede to their guards that can go and finish the job. And Chris Middleton finished the job in a way that we had not seen him do. He took the team on his back, said, hey, we got this from here. And then, look, that was it. If Chris Middleton doesn't need to do a lot of these, but if he can mix in a couple of these,
he's done a few in the past, but obviously not on this
You don't
stage.
need a lot.
Yeah.
You just need a few. And then that will be it because the rest of their team will surround them and just play high-level basketball.
You know the thing that I love most about Giannis is that when he went to his post-game interview, he acknowledged that. So, like, when you think about the four quarters, the first, second, third quarter, Giannis dominated.
Yeah.
He didn't settle. He attacked the basket, and towards the end, he knows his weaknesses. He said, "You know what, Chris? You got it going. Take us home." I affect other areas on the basketball court that don't show up in the stat sheet.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to switch out on Trae Young and keep him in front of me and challenge his shot. I hit the offensive glass. I do the defensive rebounding. So finally, I guess because we're back in Arizona, RJ is finally speaking the gospel.
I'm happy you two agree, even if the metaphors are a little mixed.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's all good.
It's fine.
I will say the last time the Bucks were 2 games away from the NBA Finals, the
Why
Raptors.
are you going to do that?
came
Why are you
up-
going to do that to him? Why are you going to do that to him?
Here's the point.
He's like, before Bucks fans get carried away.
I'm
just kidding, Rachel.
Let me finish, Kanye. That I was going to say, this feels like a different situation. It feels like a different team to me. I don't know if that's just a vibe I'm getting from 2,000 miles away or whatever, but it does not feel to me the same way it did in that Eastern Conference Final.
It doesn't feel like they're a different team. It feels like they're playing against a different team. I'm sorry.
And there we go. Apparently, you can take them out of LA, and yet we still get the same thing.
Am I lying?
Let's talk about Phoenix and what's going on here tonight. After losing in a tight Game 4 on Saturday, the Clippers trailing 3-1 in these Western Conference Finals. Now, when Ty Lue was asked about coming back down from 3-1, Richard, you know something about that. Ty said, "We beat Utah and won 4 games in a row, so this is very doable," he said. Now, remember, these Clippers are the only team ever to come back from multiple deficits, 0-2 in a single postseason. So he's got reason to be confident. The last 3-1 comeback in the conference finals was the Warriors over the Thunder in 2016, and we know everything that spiraled from that moment. You know, look, Richard, do you share Ty Lue's confidence in the Clippers, given that you have been in a locker room with him when you guys were down 3-1 in finals?
I share the confidence that he's instilling in his team, and I 100% agree with that. Now, look, we can sit here and look at Ty Lue's record and be like, oh, well, he's done this multiple times. He's come back from 3-1 before. All the things that he's done, we know what he's capable of doing, but a lot of it has to do with the belief of your team. And in this moment, he's expressing to them, when he's like, look, we beat the best team in the league with the best record. We beat them 4 games in a row. We can do this again. Now, it's one at a time, but ultimately, I think Ty Lue is just giving his team confidence, and they're going to look at him as like, well, this man has done it on the biggest stage, so if he believes in us, we should believe in ourselves.
Well, I don't think it's durable, right? And Ty Lue said what he was supposed to say, and RJ was right. But, Rachel, I listened to your post-game interview with CP3, and I heard him tell you that he didn't want to talk about the 3-1 because he had bad experiences.
Yeah.
So that showed me that CP3 is on a mission. So he's coming in tonight to close this game out. So I took that as if CP3 is not going to let the Phoenix Suns come out of this game tonight without a win.
This brings up something great. So Monty Williams has all of these expressions. They call them Monty-isms here. And one of his expressions that he has been saying to his team, especially in these kinds of situations, is don't get happy on the farm. Meaning exactly what you're saying. Just because you're up 3-1, you're not satisfied. You should be on a mission. You should work just as hard. Kendrick, you like to break down country phrases
Yeah, I don't know
for
what the
us.
hell that means.
Don't get happy on the farm. I know what he's getting at. Where did that, do you guys have that in Texas?
Well, no. I mean, I grew up on the farm, and I never heard of
get
that.
happy on
Maybe
the farm.
that's on another farm, but you know, only things I heard was things that I told you guys and shared with you numerous of times is God bless his heart, baby. He don't know no better. That's the only thing I heard.
Monty grew up on an East Coast farm, so
Yeah.
maybe that's the difference a little bit. There you go. Well, I certainly, this is a different situation. As much as I respect Ty Lue so much, his record, you're right, Richard, if you look at his particular record of coming back when his teams are down in a series, it is phenomenal. But guess what is different from when they run 4 straight against Utah?
Yeah.
They don't have Kawhi Leonard.
They don't
And
have LeBron
they
James
don't
or
have-
Richard Jefferson.
Say it again.
They don't have the Kawhi that helped them get past Utah. They don't have the Kawhi Leonard that had that spectacular game in Dallas that helped them come back in that series. It is a different beast this time. We will see what happens tonight. All right, coming up, whether they make the finals or not, it will be a tight turnaround for the Olympics for Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. How much of a cause for concern is that? The Olympic roster for Team USA was announced. We'll get into it. First, though, time for our distant replay. This date, 2007. KD drafted by the Sonics. Bring back the Sonics.
He better believe it tonight.
Make fastballs. Crunch time game in Staples. I felt very bad for Boogie Cousins. You're not in this situation that often. He was supposed to intentionally miss the free throw, so he threw it off the backboard. He did not remember it is supposed to touch the rim.
Did he not remember? Did he just misfire and try to shoot it off the front rim?
No. It was pretty. To me, it looked pretty intentionally going where it went. It just shouldn't have gone there.
I mean, here he goes. God bless his heart, baby. He didn't know no better.
I know, but okay. I will. Only thing I'm going to say is that it was a terrible throw. But when you give an offensive lineman the ball and say throw a touchdown to win the game, like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Well, he
that
can
was
shoot.
horrible.
Boogie
That
can
was
shoot.
horrible.
Don't
That was
pretend.
horrible.
I'm not saying
Boogie
Boogie can't
That was a
shoot. What I'm
horrible
saying is
comparison.
the goal is to have it ricochet in such a crazy way. So he threw it and he just.
Was you really looking at your iPad
Miss.
to come up with that
Accuracy.
No.
PJ Tucker with the rock in transition threw the alley-oop to Giannis, but it actually went in. Perk.
I mean, this is what happens when you're not used to scoring the basketball, right? He's not a passer. This guy is the primary defender, and it just happened. When you play hard, great things happen.
But he's another good three-point shooter.
He's a
Really? That's what you came up with, Perk?
yeah.
That's what you came up with, Perk? Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Rachel,
it was
he's
just a terrible pass.
That's not
The
his
one
spot.
terrible pass.
Okay,
deserved
but it
another
went
terrible
in.
pass.
Rachel,
Yes, it went in, but that wasn't the goal.
RJ,
Like
he's
Boogie was trying to hit the rim,
he's
and it didn't. That wasn't his goal to
he's
try
a
and throw it
great-
straight off the
He's a
backboard.
great three-point shooter for them corner.
Yes. No, corner three.
Oh,
His little
here we
office,
go.
that corner
That's
three.
what you're going to stay with?
Make Inspector Gadget butts again in transition. Look at Giannis taking off from the dotted line and stretching for the dunk.
We've never seen
Is
anything
this like a
that.
little Space Jam dunk there from Michael Jordan?
That's like
Remember that
Dr.
Space Jam
J.
dunk?
That's like Dr. J.
It's only one person in the league that can do that, and it's Giannis.
Yeah, I agree. Anthony Davis,
And he knocked in a three-pointer last night.
maybe. But
A cold one, too. I think it was nothing but net, that three.
No, we don't. We try not to talk about his threes because we don't want to encourage it.
He was
But
1
yes,
2, 50%. That's a good
But that's not where
percentage.
he is at his most dominant and
But
best.
two three-point
Three-pointers.
attempts is kind of what you want.
Agreed.
Right? You don't want none,
Agreed.
but you don't want 8.
Yeah, because you don't want to bench him for shooting 8.
That dunk was wild. All right, I want to switch gears to Team USA now. Managing Director Jerry Colangelo said Devin Booker expressed, quote, a great desire to play for USA Basketball and told them he would join the day after the finals if the Suns made it that far. The same is expected for Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday if the Bucks make it to the NBA Finals. We've never had a turnaround like this, Richard, and as a former Olympian yourself, ask him, Kendrick, ask him how he did in the Olympics.
Well, a few
What do you-
people with an Olympic medal. I might be the only person with an Olympic medal on this stage.
Well,
That is true.
To be honest
What
with
color
you,
is it?
I turned down the invite.
it was bronze, but I had it dipped in gold.
That's nice. Thanks for doing
No,
our
but
country proud.
I actually had an invite right after we won the 2008 championship, Rondo and myself, and I turned it down, and it was the worst mistake of my life.
I could have told you
It was
that.
the worst mistake of my life. I turned it down because I
'Cause
was
you thought
like,
it was too tight.
Yeah, it was too tight.
Even
So
then.
I would encourage Devin Booker and Drew Holiday. Look, I know you may be tired, but y'all have enough offensive firepower that you won't be playing a lot of minutes.
Now, let me say this. Representing your country is one of the great opportunities, regardless if
Yeah.
you do great, you succeed, whatever.
Come in under
That being
expectations
said,
and spark an entire revamp of the whole program.
How you're welcome. How on earth can we look at the teams that went the furthest in the bubble, that had the shortest amount of layoff, that also struggled through the postseason? The Boston Celtics, Miami Heat, the Los Angeles Lakers, all of these teams that really struggled. I'm not trying to discourage them from going again because you don't know what's going to happen in another 4 years. That being said, they need to expect that they will be exhausted. You can't look. You have to look at your history to know what's going to happen in the future. So all of these teams that have players that are going to be participating in this, especially teams that have their stars, it reminds me of the bubble. You play in the bubble, you go to the end, you keep playing more basketball. How is this team going to be able to sustain another run all the way through the finals when the Laker team is rested, Golden State Warrior team is rested, Utah Jazz is rested?
Well, you mentioned the Warriors. So before COVID, when we expected the Tokyo Olympics to be last year, both Steph and Clay expressed interest in going. Steph, in fact, told me in an interview, he said, yeah, I want to go. Sign me up, right? And then he was so excited about it. considering all the injury issues that team has had, they both decided this time, since it was going to be in this time frame, and next season, guys, is going to start, quote, on time. So this season started on Christmas, 2 days before Christmas Day. This season will start at the end of October, as we have had in the past. So I was a little surprised to see Draymond Green on this Olympic roster, given that Clay and Steph took that stuff into account that you're saying.
Go ahead and bolster that Hall of Fame resume, Draymond. Go ahead and bolster. Come on, man, Dre. I respect it. I know what you're doing.
Good
man.
for him, though.
Great for him. I respect it.
I'm actually glad that he's actually a part of it and not a replacement.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Draymond understands big picture. He's one of the smarter guys out there. Like, this man is building a Hall of Fame career. Now, if your individual stats aren't there, you better make sure that your team and all of the success that you want individually is there.
I don't know if that's why he's doing it, but I do know that he has shown himself to be very durable, so I worry less about him than some of the other guys. We will see what happens. All right, coming up, let's talk a little bit about Chauncey Billups. Yay, Chauncey! The Blazers named him their official next head coach